It's always glorious when we hit 5 o'clock on a Friday. It is the Sports Bash with one glorious hour left together.
Glorious. Always gets me so fired up. Love this song.
We will go through the games, the matchups to watch. KC Joyner going to join us. We also have Pick the Perfect Score coming up at the bottom of the hour. $300 on the line today. Stick around for that. But right now, let's go to the Boardwalk Honda Hotline here on the Sports Bash Live 97.3 ESPN as the Eagles getting ready to take on the Indianapolis Colts, a pair of 1-1 teams. Casey, welcome back. How are you, my friend?
Good. I want Bobby Roode to send me one of those robes that he has. I think you can wear that for the show, you know?
Yeah, I'll sit here in a great feathered robe as I'm doing the show. Hey, this is an interesting matchup with the two quarterback situations. You know, Luck coming back off of missing a full year. He's in and out of his third game. Wentz has missed the last 9 months due to injury here. So, first, take a look at the two quarterbacks in this game. What have you seen from Andrew Luck through 2 games so far? Is he similar to the one that led this team to the playoffs 3 straight years?
No, he's definitely not similar to the one who led the team to the playoffs. His air yards per attempt is one of the lowest air yards per attempt in the league, and he had been a vertical passer before he got back to his college days. Same thing, run a lot of power football and throw vertical. That would do a lot of dink and dunk passes. I think some of it is just game flow and okay, you don't have to throw deep, but I still wonder, can he throw the deep ball like he used to? Because if he can't, defenses start figuring them out, they're going to start attacking this team in a different way.
Hey, when you look at Carson Wentz coming back, I know we haven't seen him, and we don't know if he's going to be a little rusty or the same guy right off the bat. But if he's healthy and back and ready to roll and be the guy, what are the Eagles getting back here?
Well, they're getting a quarterback who makes really good decisions, can hit the vertical passes. I'm more worried about not whether or not he's going to have the rust. It's who's he going to throw the ball to, because if Alshon's not there and he's got Ertz, that's fine, and Aguilar's what he is, and so he's got receivers who could do certain things, but there's nobody really who can tear the top off of defense. At least nobody's proven that. So I really want to see if he can find a way to get those vertical passes. Now I want to see if we're worried about his leg and things, but is his arm rusty too? I think the Eagles need to get that out of the way early to say, Indianapolis, we will try and throw a couple of deep passes on you, make you think about it.
The reports have been that his arm is actually stronger. I mean, from him working out and all the rehab, there's been a lot of good reports on his upper body and his arms here. You mentioned the weapons or lack thereof. Nelson Aguilar is a guy who performed in the slot. I don't know what you think about him in terms of being the outside guy as opposed to the slot guy. Do you like Nelson Aguilar better in the slot? Or is this mainly, he was on the outside his first years, was not very good. Now, last year he moved to the slot and was really good. Is that because his skill set is better suited for the slot or because of the confidence that he lacked those first 2 seasons?
I think it is probably that the skill set is better. I think he's going to have more confidence because now that he's done it, he knows he can do it wherever they need him to line up and things. I still think that the Eagles could find situations, though, to get him to do similar things. You could do some bunch sets and some other stuff to give him the ability to still go and figure out elements of that and say, okay, we don't need you to be Mike Wallace and do what he did. We'll have other people try and do that. We'll put whatever we have speed on the other side of the field. We don't need you to do that, but I think they can limit what he has to do in the other way. So I think they can still get more out of him than they have of late, but maybe not as much production as we're on a per-target basis when he's slot only.
KC Joyner is with us here. What about Jordan Matthews? I know he was here with Carson for a year. What do you think he brings to this Eagles offense? He's not the big play guy, but 8 touchdowns 2 years in a row, his first 2 years in the league. So 16 total touchdowns in 2 seasons. We know he's a slot guy. That's why Nelson's getting bumped out. But what do you think he brings to the Eagles offense?
It gives them the ability to, because when Nelson gets moved out of the slot, it is a bit of a risk that now you don't have, your slot production is not going to be what it was. And that could be something where if you have Matthews, and knowing the offense is a big plus, the idea of coming in and not being ready to go, well, he should be ready to go. He should be able to contribute really early. If you've got him and you've got Ertz there, and then you can find a way to get production out of the backfield from the backs. I know Sproles is out, but if you can get production there, you've got some ways to start to threaten the defense. And then, again, you can start asking those other players to have to do fewer things. So I think if he's producing in the slot, you can still leave Aguilar. When you have Aguilar on the outside, it allows you to do certain things with him that maybe you couldn't do otherwise.
Yeah, we saw Ertz with 11 catches last week, so they got the tight end rolling in that game against Tampa. KC Joyner is with us. You mentioned Sproles. He's out. Ajayi's out. What about Corey Clement as a lead back? What do you see there in terms of if he has to get more playing time, which looks likely? I mean, we know the two guys are out, but we're assuming that Clement will be the guy who picks up a lot of the slack there.
Yeah, he's done I measure backs by a metric called good blocking yards per attempt. It measures how productive a back is when he gets good blocking. It's a really important differentiator because that's where the biggest difference between backs' production is. He's not done a great job in that metric before. He's been just below 8 yards per attempt. The league average is normally between 8 and 8.5. I think from looking at him on tape, he can get to at least the league average, so you're in good shape there. And the Eagles, their run blocking so far this year, they rank 13th in the league in my overall run blocking metrics that I post I post them on my offensive line rankings on the ESPN Plus section on Wednesdays for our fantasy football review. They rank 13th in run blocking. I think that they can do better than that, and that they're giving him that caliber of run blocking. They're giving him top 10 run blocking. They won't miss too much out of the running game. He'll be able to give them at least 8.5 yards per attempt.
We're talking with KC Joyner. The matchups to watch on Sunday. Let's start with the Colts defense. They bottled up Adrian Peterson last week. They were very good in terms of stopping him. We talked with Mike Wells earlier from ESPN.com who covers the Colts. He said fast, tough, and physical. What part of the Colts defense do you like the best?
Probably their linebacking core. I think that I would agree with fast, tough, and physical. They're better on tape than I thought they were going to be this season. In fact, it surprises me that when I look at their metrics, I see them on defense. I see them ranking not as well as you'd expect. They get a C in my pass rushing grades, and they get a C in my run defense, or C plus in my run defense grades. So I think when you're looking at the tape, they're better than that, and I think that there's something to be had there. But I think a lot of that weakness comes from the front, from the defensive line, because at linebackers they've got a really good set of really rangy linebackers. So I think the Eagles are going to have to. I don't think they can run outside as much as they used to. They're going to have to go straight at these guys.
When you look at their secondary, we know the Eagles don't have great weapons, but last week we talked about Tampa having all sorts of injury issues out there, and the Eagles really weren't able to exploit it. So was that a concern again when you look at this week?
I think that I measure the cornerbacks and safeties on a red, yellow, green basis, the green being really favorable for an offense. I've got the Colts as 3 green-rated players or 2 green-rated players and 3 yellow-rated players in the secondary. I think that you can go after them and hit some big plays, and their free safety Hooker is one of the guys who is a green-rated player. So I think there's the ability to stretch the top off the defense. I think last week was more, I think the weather caught up. It is still brutally hot down here, so I think that was part of it. And when you lose Wallace early on, I think I would bet that part of their game plan for vertical pass, in fact, the main part of their game plan was to go to him, and now in the middle of the game you got to switch him out, and you don't have anybody else who has his skill set. So I think those combinations were difficult. As long as they didn't have an injury, I'll bet they have other ways of threatening that team deep, and I think they'll be more big plays. All
right. When you look at on the other side of the ball, the Eagles' defense, their corners, the secondary, they got burned last week for a couple of touchdowns to Sean on the opening play of the game, 75 yards. We talked about it Monday. O.J. Howard, 75 yards, a couple of missed tackles. T.Y. Hilton, a little banged up. Jack Doyle is out. So what do you think of the secondary matchup against the weapons that Andrew Luck has?
Luck, again, if I'm the Eagles, I am definitely saying, because when you look at the Colts, their run blocking, the most impressive thing about it that stood out to me on their tape was their run blocking, that they came into the season ranked as one of the lowest. I think they ranked 28th on my preseason offensive line rankings. I did not expect their run blocking to be very good. The run blocking this year, they're ranked 14th. They're just a step behind the Eagles, but that doesn't sound great, but it's a whole lot better than I thought they were going to be, and they're physical on the offensive line, too. And I think what they want to do is be physical up front, do some power rushing, and go vertical in the kind of way that they've done with Luck all through most of his career, both in college and the pros. But again, I want to see him be able to throw the deep pass, because I'm the Eagles. I'm going to go, look, we know we've got the front seven to stop your running game, because the Eagles are still, they have some dominant numbers against the run. But in fact, they rank second in my run defense grade. So I expect them to be able to bottle up that rushing attack. But yeah, I want to see if he can go vertical, because right now he's only averaging, I said, 5.52 yards per attempt, and he's at 5.27 air yards per attempt. That is the only person with a lower air yards per attempt is Derek Carr. It's 31st out of 32. They're not going vertical at all, and I want to make him do that.
Eagles stop the run. Colts don't run much, but can the Eagles get the pass rush? Their offensive line is better. Their offensive line has been awful. It's been better this year, but Costanzo's being out could hurt them again at left tackle. He's been out most of the season. So do you think the Eagles are able to get to Luck with the matchup up front?
Again, the offensive line for the Colts is blocking a lot better than I thought. I give them a B-plus grade. They ranked 8th in my pass blocking metrics so far this season. Only 2 games, but that's a really good rating, and that's phenomenally better than I thought they were going to be. And the Eagles' pass rush, I've got them ranked 14th in pass rush. So right now I've got the Colts with a slight edge in pass blocking versus pass rush. I think they're going to be able to give Luck some time. So it's not a matter of if he'll be able to have time to throw downfield. It's if they will. In fact, they've given him enough time to be able to do so. So I got to wonder if they're going to allow him to cut loose, if they're just going to keep dinking and dunking.
What about Wentz is back, the Colts pass rush, against the Eagles offensive line? Do you think that they will be able to get to the quarterback, or should the Eagles line win that battle?
I've got the Eagles right now ranked 12th in pass blocking. I've given them a B grade, and they're ranked 12th in pass blocking this year, so they've been doing a pretty good job. They've got the 9th most favorable pass blocking matchup because the Colts rank as a C-. They're 22nd in my pass rushing metrics, so I really believe the Eagles are going to be able to throw vertical, or at least they're going to be able to block and go vertical, and that's the thing. If you can block, I don't care how good the people are in the secondary, and I don't think the Colts are that good in their secondary. There's nobody really need to avoid. But if you can block very well, you're going to give Wentz enough time to be able to attack this defense. So I'd love to be able to see the Eagles say, even though we've got these backup receivers, we're still going to go vertical because we're going to play call these guys open. I think Philly's run defense is dominant. I know the Colts have blocked better, but I think that Philly can absolutely shut down that rushing attack. By the way, Colts are going to be without Marlon Mack, so they're going with the Wilkins and Hines as their primary backs. Those guys are solid, but they're nothing to write home about. I think they'll be able to shut down the run game, and I think they will be able to make Indianapolis be a one-dimensional team. And again, we'll find out soon. If Luck doesn't start to throw those vertical passes, the Eagles are going to sit down and start shutting down those short passes too, and Luck is going to be exposed.
All right, so that's the matchup to watch on Sunday. The Eagles' run defense dominating. We'll see if they make Indianapolis one-dimensional. If Andrew Luck, so essentially the Colts are going to need Luck to throw them to win this game.
I think they will. They've been able to not make this a luck-centric offense, or at least not the way we used to think of a luck-centric offense. And now I think, like I said, you keep dinking and dunking. Eventually, teams are going to catch on to that and say, "We're going to make you." Hey, it's great if you don't want to throw deep. But again, this is Sam Bradford has a higher air yards per attempt than Andrew Luck this year. Sam Bradford than that terrible Arizona offense. I mean, if he's and Mitchell Trubisky has a higher air yards per attempt. I mean, that's how dink and dunk they've been. And again, maybe the Eagles say, "We go if you want to go dink and dunk, we'll go ahead and let you." But I'll bet that they'll just start clamping down and saying, "You're going to, if you're going to throw deep, and see if Luck can do it." Because I'll bet they think they can.
All right, let's look at the games this week. As last night we saw Cleveland beat beat the Jets last night. Your takeaway from the game last night?
Their blocking was better. Cleveland had the worst overall blocking in the league going into that game, and their blocking was a lot better, and it has to do with Baker Mayfield firing people up. I think that he gives that offense an energy that it hasn't had, and it makes the Browns, if they can avoid their coaching gaffes, 6-7 win team at least.
You sticking with Baker Mayfield?
If they don't, if Hugh Jackson says we should go with Tyrod Taylor as our starter, they should fire him. I'm dead serious. If he said we shouldn't go with Taylor, fire the guy right now.
Walk down there, give him his pink slip. All right, let's look at the games this weekend. NFC South. New Orleans has been kind of a mystery so far this year. Atlanta got a big win last week against Carolina. They're at home. Which New Orleans team are we going to check out? The last year's version, and we can still see this year's Jekyll and Hyde version?
They haven't been run blocking anywhere near as well as they did last year, but Atlanta doesn't handle power rushing very well. I think New Orleans will give them a big dose of it as much as they can, so I like New Orleans in that game.
All right, New Orleans on the road. San Francisco going to Kansas City. Mahomes, 10 touchdowns, a ton of yards. They have been on the road for 2 games. They get to come home against the 49ers team traveling halfway across the country here. So do we see Mahomes go to 3-0?
I think we do, but the thing that stands out about Kansas City, other than the Mahomes and that offense, how excellent they are, They had the 31st rated pass rush. They can't get after the passer. They need to get away from trying to get into shootout games because eventually that offense is going to slow down a bit, and that defense can't keep people stopped at all. They've got to lean on the run more. I think they win, but I think that they need to start changing the way they do things.
This is a game that you probably love, an old 1970s AFC matchup. Oakland and Miami. You got the Dolphins at 2-0, running the ball. Tannehill, they're playing decent defense. Oakland's been a mess. Now they got to travel all the way across the country. So does Gruden go to 0-3?
I think Gruden goes 0-3. We're not going to see a sea of hands caliber game here. I don't think we're. but the Dolphins are run blocking exceptionally well. Again, they're another offensive line that started to do a lot better. I think they've got one of the best mismatches this week. I think Kenny Drake goes over 100 yards for only third time in his career, and they win that handily.
I like the Dolphins handily. Buffalo. Talk about handily, a 16.5-point spread in this one. Going to Minnesota. Vikings get the tie last week, but they're at home. Buffalo's got to travel. They've been a mess. Rookie quarterback up against that purple people leader defense.
And McCoy's hurt. He was on a no-contact jersey today. He might not even play, so they might have to lean on Marcus Murphy as their top back. I mean, it's just that offense is in a horrible way. Their defense is actually playing better than they're giving credit for, but when your offense is that bad, I think if they don't lose by 3 touchdowns, I'd be shocked. That's the worst team in the league.
KC Joyner is with us. Green Bay, when they have Rodgers, they can win any game. They got to go on the road to Washington. Washington loses at home last week against this Colts team. They won on the road the week before. So Washington at home for the second week in a row. But a tough Packers team when Rodgers plays. Is Rodgers going to be healthy enough? We know he's going to be standing, but will he be standing tall at the end of that game?
Washington's 21st in my pass rush metrics. I think Rodgers will be okay. I'm worried about the Packers' offensive line. They're blocking nowhere near as well as they should. They're in the bottom 20 in all my metrics this year, and that allows them to not lean on the run. But they've got Jones back, and I think that may lean them to run on the ball even more. And they've got better receivers than people give them credit for. So I like Green Bay hitting on a big place to win.
All right, looking at the Sunday slate with KC Joyner as we do on a Friday here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Cincinnati's 2-0. Carolina lost last week. On the road in Atlanta. They get to come back home. I'm interested to see what this Cincinnati team looks like after that Thursday night game, so they get some extra time to prepare. Will it be enough to knock off Cam and Carolina?
I think it will. Cam and Carolina are good in a lot of ways. They've got the second best run blocking right now, but their pass blocking is nowhere near as good. And I think Cincinnati, their blocking has been exceptional this year. They're going to be missing Mixon, but Gio's really good, and I think they can belk him for a day, and I think they're going to hit a big place to win.
All right, Cincinnati on the road. That should be a fun game to watch. Tennessee and Jacksonville. The Jags got some injury issues here. Bortles maybe played the best game of his life last week. Tennessee's got some injury issues as well. Now they got to travel. Jacksonville's got this whole, revenge thing on Tennessee, who beat them twice last year. So, do the Jags get their revenge?
Well, one of the big numbers I had in my Monday column for ESPN's Fantasy Plus section was that Bortles had a huge pass rush against him and still did very well, and they kept going to him. I think this Jaguars team is finally saying, we'll trust you to throw the ball even when there's a lot of pressure when you throw vertical. That makes them really dangerous. I think that when you've got Tennessee as banged up as they are, Mariota's banged up, might be losing another tackle, and even Henry's banged up, and they got so many injuries. I think Jackson wins the same by 10. Okay,
all right. Denver's 2-0, taking on Baltimore, who's got 9 days to prepare for this game coming off that Thursday night loss in Cincinnati. Baltimore's a team that, kind of nondescript. They don't have huge weapons. Their defense isn't the same as it used to be. Denver kind of similar, where they got the good defense, but offensively, the rookie running back Lindsey's been pretty good, but Case Keenum's banged up. Denver's got to travel after being at home 2 weeks. So how do you read this one?
It is difficult because of the travel situation, but Denver right now has the number 1 ranked offensive line according to my metric and the number 2 ranked front 7. And their secondary is pretty good. So this is a team that can control the ball that way. Lindsey's fantastic. I mean, mind you, Freeman's not played badly this year. Just Lindsey's doing as well as he is. They've got a 1-2 punch back there. As long as Keenum plays in the game, and I haven't seen the Friday injury report, but as long as he plays, I think they win. If he's out, they don't. But if he's in, they've got the front 7 and the blocking to make up for his injury issue.
Someone's O's gots to go. New York's offensive line, a disaster. Injury issues on defense. Vernier's out. Eli Apple out. Houston, they've got their own problems. They're 0-2, but they come back home. Is the Giants just what the doctor ordered?
Yeah, they are. The ESPN Plus article I mentioned this past Wednesday, I'll give one away here. We'll do a mismatch of the week in that article, and the mismatch is Houston's run blocking versus the Giants' run defense. The Giants easily have the worst run defense in the league. I think Lamar Miller goes 100 yards. He might even do 150. They will obliterate the Giants' run defense.
I like that. All right, Chargers going to L.A. right up the road to take on the Rams. Rams really good, but hadn't played a very tough schedule. Chargers going on the road last week. Won in Buffalo. I know Buffalo's not great, but they had to travel all the way up there, and they won kind of handily there. So Rivers versus Goff in the Battle of L.A.
The amazing part of the Rams is they're doing as well as they are, and their blocking does not rank out that well. They're fifth overall. Their run blocking doesn't rank out that well. They've got, I think, they're 19th in my run blocking metrics. Are capable of a whole lot better. Just imagine a team that did what they've done the first 2 weeks, and they've got room for improvement. The Chargers are blocking better, but they have some injuries, and I don't trust their defense. Their defense is good, but it gives up big plays more than the Rams do. I just think the Rams' defense might be the best in the league, so I'm taking the Rams.
All right, Bears used to be the Cardinals. Now they get to play the Cardinals. This is a horrible Cardinals team. Bears team, young, fun, defense all over the place. Can they travel, though? Is Chicago ready to go on the road and win an NFL game against the Arizona Cardinals, who are not very good?
The Arizona Cardinals aren't good. The Arizona Cardinals can run the ball. They're fourth in my run blocking metrics, but the pass blocking hasn't been that good. And Bradford's he's not going vertical. He's got the lowest yards per attempt in the league. That offense is just going nowhere. And David Johnson, I'm getting questions from fantasy football managers saying, should I start David Johnson this week? It's incredible. He was like a number 2 pick in most drafts, number 3 overall. So I think the Bears in that offense, and people are bashing Trubisky. I'm telling you, he's playing better than people are giving him credit for, and he's going to continue to get better. I like them over the Cardinals.
All right, that one should be interesting to see if the Bears are growing up. Dallas has got to go on the road at Seattle. Seattle's 0-2, but they play 2 road games. Typically a much better team at home. Dallas is typically better on the road. They run the ball pretty well. Seattle's not the same team, but is Seattle at home good enough to beat this Dallas bunch?
Seattle has arguably the worst offensive line in the league. They're 31st in the metrics. I could easily make a case that they should be 32nd. They're just atrocious. They can't run block. They can't pass block. And it's getting so bad that even it's impacting Wilson's ability, which usually he's able to scramble and make up for the fact that he doesn't have pass blocking. But the Cowboys have a tremendous pass rush. Their secondary is really good, and they're run blocking pretty well this year, too. So I think that's a formula that travels on the road well for them. They win.
All right, a couple more with KC Joyner Sunday night. It is teacher versus student. Belichick against Patricia. The Pats against the Lions, who did not look good in the opener. Looked better last week, but still not good enough to get a win. Can the Lions pull off a stunner against the Pats?
They're going to have to get into a high-scoring game if they do. Good news for them is they've got the number 1 pass-blocking group in the NFL per my metrics, but the Patriots have the highest pass pressure rate. I think it's going to allow Detroit to hit some big passes, but when you've got the highest pass pressure rate, you probably can get some big plays too. I think having Gordon out there, if he is out there, he's questionable right now, but if he does play, even just the threat of him is going to open it up for Hogan. You got Hogan, you've got Gronk, you got the other weapons on that offense. I like their weapons better in Detroit, so I'm taking the Patriots.
All right, last one Monday night. Fitzmagic against a Pittsburgh team that's been obliterated. Is this another 404 touchdown day for Ryan Fitzpatrick?
I think eventually things are going to start to come back down to earth. The badness for him is looks like Joe Hayden's going to play, the Steelers shutdown cornerback who missed most of week 1 and all of week 2. So with him out there, he can slow down a portion of their offense. And I think the Steelers, they're like, I'll go back to 1970s again, but this time the Oakland A's, a locker room that starts to tear itself apart, but when they do, they start to turn against everybody else and win championships. I'm not saying the Steelers are going to win a championship, but I bet they turn things around this week and get back on the right track. I think it's a high-scoring game, but they win that one.
All right, there you go. Your Week 3 slate with KC Joyner. We'll go back to the Eagles and get your pick on that one. Indy at Philly. Luck traveling against Wentz. 2 real young, exciting quarterbacks, both of them having their injury issues. So, who gets the better of the other on Sunday?
The Colts have an improved defense. I love their linebacking core, but they have problems in their secondary. They have problems in their front 7 overall. I like their blocking, but I still think that Luck is not back to what he was arm-wise. I know the Eagles have injuries, but they still have a lot more talent on that team than Indianapolis does. I mean, a lot more. So I'm taking the Eagles by maybe a touchdown.
All right, Eagles by about a touchdown on Sunday. KC Joyner here with all the games. He'll be back on Monday to recap them all and take a look at the Monday Night Football game. Of course, we have that for you live on 97.3 ESPN. He, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Enjoy the football, KC.
Have a good weekend, man.